Okay, so before we start reading the book, can you look at the front cover and tell me the title?
Time and clocks.
Okay, what do you think this might be about?
Maybe how. Maybe a lot about Big Bang, 'cause it kind of looks like Big
It
Bang.
looks like Big Ben, the picture on the front cover, doesn't it? Should we read the blurb on the back and see if that tells us any more?
People have always needed ways to measure the passing of time. Some of the earliest clocks used sand or candles to measure time. By performing experiments with sand and candles, it is still possible to create simple clocks today. Many cities have big clocks in public places. Some of these clocks have become so famous that people go to see them when they are visiting the city.
Great. Okay, so now we've read the blurb. Does that sound like a fiction story or non-fiction?
Non-fiction,
Non-fiction, yeah. Why do you think that?
because maybe it's not real.
Not real. That's fiction, isn't it? Not real. A made-up story is fiction. Do we think it's real? Should we see if there's a contents page in the front, and that will tell us if it's non-fiction or not. So non-fiction is factual, real things. Okay. Is there a contents page?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it is.
fiction.
That's a story. That's a made-up story. Is it a made-up story? Or is it non-fiction?
Non-fiction.
Yeah, it's non-fiction because it's factual and it's got a contents page which tells me what is on each page, so you don't have to read it from the beginning to the end like you do with fiction. So you can pick a page. So which one would you like to pick?
Big Ben,
Big Ben. Let's turn to page, what page is that?
19.
Page 19. Off we go.
Famous clocks. In many cities throughout the world, there are large famous clocks that have been built in places. These
Just
are
go back and reread that for me. I loved how you used some expression earlier. You said large like that with your voice. Keep going with expression. Let's go back here.
in many cities throughout the world. There are large famous clocks that have been built in public places. These are used by people as reliable.
I like how you used your phonics then, so we sounded it out. So it's able, reliable, reliable. And then we blend it together like that. Can we reread it in the sentence? Just go back so it definitely makes sense.
These are used by people as reliable timepieces, but they are also provide an opportunity to highlight the history of the area or its special features. Many of these clocks attract visitors in extraordinary numbers and are photographed as a permanent record of having visiting the area.
Can you just go back and reread that for me, because you made a couple of mistakes. You did some of them as you went. Should we start with many?
Many of these clocks attract visitors in extraordinary numbers and are photographed as a permanent record of having visited the area.
Great. When you then went back and reread it, it meant that you read it accurately this time because you didn't make any mistakes. And then it means we definitely understand the meaning of what we're reading. Excellent. You're also so good at pausing for punctuation, like full stops on the page. Brilliant. Continue a little bit more on the next one.
Big Ben, London, England. Originally, Big Ben was the name people called the Great Bell in the Palace of Westminster in London. In 1834, this building was destroyed by fire and a new building was designed and constructed with a new clock tower.
Brilliant. I love how you're really taking care to read smoothly. Don't forget that expression in your voice. You know how sometimes you make things louder or quieter or make the words really long. Can you keep showing me that expression? Yeah? So I can see the word great here, so I might go like this with my voice. The Great Bell. Use some expression on great. Do you want to have a go?
The great bell was installed in the new clock, and today the name Big Ben is often used to mean not only the bell, but also the clock and the clock tower of the building, which is now known as Houses of Parliament.
Blend them together.
Parliament.
Excellent. Parliament. Should we just reread that word in the sentence again? Should we just go from and?
And the clock tower of the building, which is now known as the Houses of Parliament.
Excellent. Great rereading to make sure we're accurate. And this is the picture here on the page of the Houses of Parliament. Brilliant. Lovely. And I love some of your expression. Okay, I'm now going to ask you some questions as we've finished our reading now. And I'm going to use your bookmark to help me. So I'm going to pick one of the reading vipers that we do at school to check your comprehension. So the first question is, how are clocks used by people? How are they used? So if it's a retrieval question, what do you need to do?
Scan.
Scan. Which word should we scan for?
People.
People. Go on then. How are they used by people?
Reliable timepieces.
Excellent. I noticed you found it here and you reread it in the sentence. These are used by people as reliable timepieces. Excellent. Okay, my next question I'm going to ask you from your bookmark is a vocabulary question here. And I'm going to ask you, in the sentence, extraordinary numbers, so the clocks attract visitors in extraordinary numbers, can we replace the word extraordinary with a different synonym? But first of all, do we know what extraordinary means?
Maybe strange and unusual.
Yeah, and if we didn't know the meaning, we could look it up in a dictionary. Even if you have the internet, you can look it up online. So it means sort of strange or unusual. So if you had to replace the word extraordinary there, what synonyms would you go for?
Unusual numbers.
Yeah, unusual numbers. And that still makes sense, doesn't it? Many of these clocks attract visitors in unusual numbers. Is there any other synonyms you might put there instead of extraordinary?
Strange.
Strange, yeah. Excellent. Well done. Great comprehension. Okay. Thanks, Janae. Well done.